we found something brand new. It's called Wink of Stella, and it is from the Zig Marker family. You know, they were the ones who really started in the scrapbooking.
What I love about these Wink of Stella brush markers is that they're really easy to control. They can do a lot of fine detail. They're super shimmery, and they're just really fun to play with.
It's the shimmery, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the shimmery. That sound interesting?
Come play with us.
Well, there are some Christmas ones, but we wanted to start with kind of a good overall view. So
right.
they come in sets of 3, and so this starts with Elegant and Flower Power.
Flower Power. We have a light green, which is a single. These are 3 packs. And then we have a 3-pack of Landscape, which is this one, and Pretty Garden.
Okay. And we're going to start showing this grouping, and then we'll finish showing that grouping.
Right.
We had to divide it some way.
We'll start with these.
But you're going to show the pen first.
I am.
Okay.
The marker. These are brush markers.
Not pens. Not pens.
Because there are Wink of Stella pens. These are brush markers that we have. And it starts when you pull it out of the package. You're going to see this black ring in the center that separates the 2 ends. This is the cap with the color on the top that tells you what it is, and this is the bottom. I'm going to unscrew it. Take that off. Now there's this black ring right here. This is put in there so that it doesn't get any ink. It doesn't make it so that the ink and it doesn't get anywhere. Boy, that was hard to say. During shipping.
Very good. Phew.
Right. Once you do that, then you pop that back on there. You screw it in place, and as you do so, it pierces the barrel from this end, now that it will flow into that end, and then you just pop off the cap. And there you go. So now what you have is a compartment in here that holds the ink, and it goes down to this end where you see this white, very fine bristle. They are separate bristles, fine bristled nylon tip. And it has right here, you can say it says push. I'm going to tell you something about that. You do squeeze here to get it activated, and it'll start pumping the pigment. It's water-based pigment down into this end. You have to do that a few times. I'm going to shake it. It's got a ball shaker in there, so it really gets that iridescence.
And you're shaking it without the top on it. What are you thinking?
I'm shaking it toward the paper. Probably shouldn't do that without the top on. I'm going to keep squeezing it until it gets activated. There, I just saw it. If you see, you can see the color there. So it starts. Now what I'm doing is I'm squeezing in little squeezes. What you don't want to do.
Now I'm seeing green.
Yeah.
Going to the tip.
There. It's finally getting down there. And then you can start doing this.
Right.
Okay, come on, get on there. You do have to sort of prime it the very first time you use it. You don't have to do this every time. But you notice that when I'm squeezing it, I'm squeezing and letting go. That's really important. I'm going to tell you that if you squeeze it, which has been done by me personally, if you squeeze it and hold it down, this gets so filled with ink that then just kind of puddles come out. So you don't want to completely fill this. You just want to get it primed. And every once in a while, not very often, you'll have to squeeze it again. But you do have to shake it periodically while you're using it to keep the glitter evenly moving around. Can you see the glitter? I'm going to try to pick it up so you can... There.
Got it.
See that shimmer? Super, super fine. So it's just this great glimmery look. And once that ink is free flowing, the pigment ink, then there it goes. It is water-based, so it's not like a stays on, or it won't go on any surface, but it works great on paper and cardstock.
Okay, let's show.
There you go.
So here is our first project, and I think to really let you see what the final effect is, we need to get onto that butterfly. So John's going to swoop in, and there you go. This is just done with the Wink of Stella brush.
Well, and the coloring, which was first done with Spectrum Noir. So this was colored in all those different colors with the turquoise set of the Spectrum Noir inks. And then it was gone over with the clear Wink of Stella brush.
And that clear is part of the Elegant set.
Part of the Elegant set.
Right, okay. So the shine, that glimmer that we're seeing is from that clear one.
From the clear one, right. So here's the Color Me card topper. This is the winged things, and there's that butterfly. I went ahead and colored it in with the Spectrum Noir turquoise set, and you can see on the gallery for the colors that were used for that. And then I'm going to grab, from the Elegant set, I grab the clear Wink of Stella. Always have to shake it first. That gets all the little shimmery particles going everywhere.
Especially with the lid on. Huh?
Right, with the lid on, always a good idea. And then you just start going over it. You just sort of, and here's that brush, just works great, just moving around really quickly. If you push harder, it will get more, it will lay down flatter so you can cover more surface.
Now, you're not concerned about going over the black area because this is with the Color Me. This is the winged thing, so I'm just going to slip that in so you can see the package. So this black area is raised. It is a resist to color.
Right. It's an embossed area, and it's actually, it's a glossy finish. So if you go over it, here I'm going to show you. If you go over it, I'll go over a black part where you can see it. With the Wink of Stella, you can see that it makes it really glittery, but it's not going to be a real even coating. It's going to separate, and so I don't purposely use it because it's kind of difficult to keep it in one spot. And
the black is a resist, so it's meant to resist anything that's going to go on top, whereas the white area is the paper.
But it is kind of cool that I can just go over it like this. I'm not super concerned about it, and I don't want to wipe it off because of the black areas, because then you might wipe it off of the background where you're working. But anyway, real simple to just go over that with the clear. Now, if I wanted to, I could have chosen the colored Wink of Stella and just gone over those colors with different colors individually.
Oh, but you would get kind of a blended color then.
Right. Okay. But this is cool. You can actually put it right on top of Color Me, or excuse me, Vectrum Noir penwork.
Right, okay.
Beautiful.
We'll go back to the finished example just so you can see a little bit of the orange was added, and these are the cutouts that are part of the card toppers. And then on the inside, we have a little piece, and it too has been covered with the clear. Right. So you can see that shimmer. Again,
isn't that beautiful?
It's a beautiful glimmer. Right. And that's really what it's all about.
It's just an added highlight, but it works on so many different things for just nice little detail highlights. It's fun to do.
Okay, so number one, card toppers works beautifully. Mm-hmm. Now, number two, we have some dazzles.
Dazzles and vellum.
Okay, right. Now, this particular set of dazzles is from the Kindred Flowers. Okay,
right.
So this is Kindred Flowers. I wanted to make sure with you before I brought it in. Right. And so this is the scrapbooking size of dazzles, which of course are good for cards or anything else. And I see that you've done the postcard.
I've done the postcard dazzle, and what I did was I placed the dazzle on vellum. So this part here is a completely separate piece. I placed it on vellum, and then I colored it in with the Wink of Stella pens. And I'm going to grab from the Elegant set again. I've got silver, so it tells you on the top what color it is. And I opened it up, and I just started coloring in within the dazzle, just right in those areas. It's such a fine tip. You can really hit some tiny little spots, even the center of that flower, just a little dot there. And I used the light green, which is the single from the single pack.
And that's what's there.
So for this, it was 2 packs, the Elegant pack and the single light green. They're both from set 1, like we're talking about.
Now, I'm really hoping that you're able to see, because I love that shadow that you've done with the silver, right?
Right. So just highlighting around the edges of those dazzles. It was very simple to just go around and make a nice little highlight or a shadow around there. And that's on the vellum, which it didn't, if you make a really thick layer of Wink of Stella, which you can do if you squeeze it too much, you can make sort of puddles, that will tend to buckle the vellum. Okay. But if you're just using it, just swiping across like this, there's no problem whatsoever. And parts of these are extra dazzles that were done separately on vellum and then foam taped on top. That one, the little flower here.
And let's back up and see the whole card, because this is really fun. It has a little card on top with all of the Wink of Stella that's been done, and again,
done on vellum. These were backed. The edges were cut around there and placed on there. And also, this was embossed in black, and then I went around it with those pens I filled them in with the green, and I went around the edges with the Wink of Stella silver.
And is this from the paper
Smart
dolls?
And Sassy.
Oh, Smart and Sassy.
Smart and Sassy,
Okay, don't
yeah.
let anyone dull your sparkle.
Smart and Sassy sayings.
I love this going up. I think this whole combination is just so stunning.
Right.
So you would think that this would be the card, but not so.
No.
This is just the backer.
Which was done on a piece of silver linen specialty paper that just had the right amount of shininess to add to it without overpowering those Wink of Stella pens, which are so beautiful. They're kind of the star for me on there.
And again, the silver and the green.
And the green.
Just beautiful.
The paper. I know what it is.
Is it Rosemary and Thyme?
No, it's not.
Pretty Little
it's new.
Posies?
There you go. Pretty Little Posies.
Was that meant to be
green.
a test?
I couldn't remember all of a sudden. That's such a pretty, I love the greens in there.
This is a good layout to remember. I think that's really worthwhile.
It's fun.
Okay, now we're going to go into, so now we've got dazzles. We did card toppers, now dazzles. Now we have an embossed, heat stamped images. And look at that.
Look at that shimmer and shine.
Yes.
And it's such a beautiful look. The white that stands out against that ink. I'm going to show you how we accomplish that. It is so pretty.
And this is using that little dragonfly stamp, and it has the message on it, so fluttering by to say hi. And, okay, so this was first stamped with Versamark onto
This is watercolor paper. Yes, it was.
And then stamped, so Versamark, and then the superfine white embossing powder.
That's right.
Okay.
So stamped, here's a piece that you can barely see it here, but on this watercolor paper, which is available online on Paper Wishes, you can, I'm going to turn it just right there. You can see the white embossing here. So first it was embossed in white. Excuse me. And then we have the blue watercolor pencils that were used to fill that in. There we go. Here's the blue set. And in there, it contains a brush. It contains all these great watercolor. These are great to work with. And I pulled two colors from there. This was actually Lene's piece, and I'm just duplicating it. And what she did was first, and she's showing it here, she's done some of it for me already, filled in some of the areas here with the lighter color of blue. And then in the darker color blue, she filled in an area out in these open areas of the butterfly, just like so. After that, she grabbed from the Elegant set again. It's a highly useful set. The clear Wink of Stella. Shake it up. Make sure it's all moving around in there. And she actually used that, which she did it right here already. She used that to sort of blend it into the watercolor paper because it's water-based. It's got water in it, and you can just blend it in like so.
No, I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have brought out that little brush from the watercolor set.
Right. You just blend it in.
So again, like the resist, the white is resisting the color,
right? And
the watercolor paper is picking up.
Is picking it up, and so she did this. After she did this, when it was still wet, she did a next step. I hate to have to do it before I'm done, but I think I'm going to have to because I can. Here, just very quickly. Finish it up. There. Now it's while it's still wet, you grab clear embossing powder and put that on top of it. So that should stick onto the work that you just did with the Wink of Stella. It's just still a little bit wet. It holds on to that clear embossing powder a little bit, and then I'm going to use the heat gun. Now, the reason Lene said that she added this extra step is because she really wanted to seal the work that she just did in top of the embossed image that was already there. So this just does a nice job of, because she used it on top of the embossed piece, she was afraid that it might rub off. So adding that clear just seals it on there.
Interesting.
And it makes a nice finished piece.
And so you can see the shine not only from the embossing, but from the Wink of Stella and the embossing powder on top.
Right, it's kind of sandwiched in there.
It is.
Oh, that's not the only reason she did that. That's right. It seals it in.
And yet there's more.
Because of the next step. She used tumbled glass distress ink and one of these ink blending tools. So let's get just a little bit on there. And then she went over the top of it. That's That's one of the reasons.
Right.
I remember. And as you can see, see, if I had gone over this, over the Wink of Stella, because it's water-based, if I had done this without sealing it with the clear embossing powder, then it might have just come right off. So that was a safe step. So there you go.
So now you can really see your dragonfly.
See it, it pops.
It does pop. And there is the finished card. She's added some jewel dazzles in there. And as we back up, just wanted to note that just the top corners are rounded. That watercolor paper is on top. And the little message that was in the stamp, the fluttering by to say hi, is right there. It's
just a perfect look. And look at those colors. They match the Robin's Red paper pack really
perfectly.
Well. Robin's Red with no red whatsoever in sight there.
On this particular sheet. Right. And then on the inside, I think this is a sweet little technique of just going into the bottom corner.
Just beautiful.
Right. And she's used the Friends and Family dazzles to... just complete that little piece.
So same technique there, just with the two smaller dragonflies that come in that small stamp set.
Gorgeous set. Okay, so one more thing you can do with it.
Yep.
Now, here is yet another. And isn't that gorgeous? Now, if that embossing folder doesn't look familiar, that's because it hasn't come out yet. So this is just a preview. But what we really want to focus on is the technique. So as we get in closer, you can see that on the top of the embossed, that shimmer that's going on.
That's that Wink of Stella, and that's clear that was used on top of something that was inked. And so I can show you this process. There's kind of a two-step process to this. There is creating that cardstock with distress inks, and then there is adding the Wink of Stella after.
Okay, so let's go with step one.
Okay. Step one is a craft sheet. So we've got a craft sheet. I've got two distress inks, peacock feathers and festive berries. And I have water. So I'm going to use all of these things. And I have a piece of cardstock. It's about 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 to match the size of the embossing folder. So I'm going to start by inking this craft sheet up. Actually, I like to start with the blue. It just occurred to me. I like a little more blue than I do red. It just sort of, and I just sort of squish it around in an area that's just a little bit, I just want it to be a little bit bigger than the cardstock, not much. That's good. And then with the red, I just sort of fill in some of the areas. And then I spritz it with water. Oh, here we go. I got to keep it upright. Oh, you turkey. There we go.
Sometimes you just have to speak firmly to it.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can see how the water's beating up the ink, and that's because it's water activated.
The more water you add, the more sort of marbly it's going to be. Now I'm going to place that right down on top of it. I actually like to move it around a little bit so it doesn't get just those square looking, that square look, and pick it up.
Okay.
And hey, you can do it more than once, by the way, if you want it to change a little bit. You can also add a little bit of water to make it a little more marbly. And do it again. So anyway, that's how you create a marbled look. And then you just set that aside and let it dry. No two looks are alike. And after it's dry, it's going to look something like, after it's dry, you're going to send it through the embossing folder, like so. Right. And so now I've got that embossed area there. So you can see that popping up. And I've got the next step, which is inking the top with the peacock feathers, and I used this stylus. These are great. These stylus with the removable tips, so you can remove them when you're done with them. And I just used the ink straight from the peacock feathers ink pad, and I just went across the top of these, just across the top of the embossed area. And I did just a little bit of it here. I didn't complete it, but you can see the areas that I hit. Once that was dry.
And actually, you can see the difference between these two as to how much that adds.
Sure.
Here, it's really the design of what you did with the inking, but here is where you can really see the design.
Right.
So that's...
I agree. So once you've done that, I've got my Wink of Stella clear pen, And I want to hit just on top of those embossed areas, which if you use the tip and you go, or it won't hit very much at one time. It could take you a long time, and I didn't really want to spend that amount of time. So I laid it down, sort of lay it down flat with your table and just swipe the edge of it.
So you're kind of just stroking it across the top of the raised area.
Just to hit the raised areas. And that works pretty well. Especially on the edges, it works pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that is how I accomplished that look that you saw on the card. I do want to show you one more thing before I move this away. Let's see, I'll see if you can see the shimmer already. Yeah. And you can add multiple layers of that too. Let that dry a little bit and do it again. I also attempted this on something else. I didn't like the way it was going at the time, but you can see that I embossed on vellum, and then I took the Wink of Stella brush and swiped the edges of just the embossed edges, and it's really nice and sparkly.
That is beautiful.
Right. It is really pretty.
Wow.
But I went another direction. I'll use this for something else.
So going back using the embossing folder that's not out yet, this is the finished card. So you can see that those colors work perfectly with, again, the Robin's Red paper pack.
There's something else that I used this on for the front. I don't know if you can see it yet. I can see it sitting here, but I stamped on this little tag here, and then I used the brush to go around the stamped image to highlight it.
Oh, again, the clear stamp, the clear
brush.
Right? And these are the charm dazzles, so just in case you haven't seen those, that's what they look like. On the inside of your card, you added more stamping, and
more Wink of Stella.
Yeah, I can see the clear on the top of it.
There, you can see it. Yeah, just a little highlighting. And so somebody would be turning it and they'll go, oh, look, it's sparkly.
Yeah, so it's just a nice little extra accent.
Right. I want to mention that as I'm using these, I have a can over here. I'm keeping them upright, and this is really recommended, so I want to make sure that you know that you store them upright with the caps in the top position, because if you store them, point side down, which a lot of people do for their markers, for instance, then if you do these that way, then eventually they'll probably start to leak out there. You don't want that to happen, so keep them upright.
Okay, with the cap that's got color.
With the cap on top, right.
Okay. Now, scrapbookers, we have not forgotten you. Here is a whole 12 by 12 page. Now, this is, again, the Color Me, and this is out of the Susan's Flowers, which is the new set.
Right.
And the corner, starts out like this. And then you can turn it into this. And let's get in. We kind of have to turn it so that you can see. There are some stickles. The blue that you're seeing are stickles, so that's going to be really super concentrated.
But the other ones that you see come from the Flower Power set. There's a violet, a dark pink, and an orange in that set.
Huh.
And also we have the green, the light green, which is the single pen.
So again, the Color Me just does a really nice job of holding those sections.
Right.
And
if you look closely at one of those leaves, they were just gone over the whole thing. It wasn't meticulously done in between each one of those. The whole thing was just swiped.
And while our first project had used the Spectrum Noir pens, and then with the clear, these are the Wink of Stella brush markers exclusively.
The actual color of the brush marker. Right.
So you can see. And you can vary the intensity. Is that right?
Sure. If you can do several layers, which will give you more intensity. If you really squeeze that barrel until the end here is full of ink, then you're going to get more that comes out of the end. It's kind of a fine line, and in using it that way, you tend to get maybe a puddle every once in a while, so you have to be careful if you're going to use it that thick, but it will give you more sparkle all at once.
And up here we have even more. So this is really a nice way to see the interplay of those colors out of the Flower Power grouping.
And they're really bold colors too. Bold and shimmery, and you can really see all that sparkle. Just beautiful.
Really nice. Now, this blue area, that was done with the Tumble Glass
Distress ink, just one of those, the stylus not the stylus, but the blending tool, which is this one, the ink blending tool.
Okay. So now we're going to go into the ability to get into tiny, tiny areas.
Right.
So we're going to go teeny tiny.
So get on your magnifying glass to see these. They're really beautiful, but they're tiny.
Yeah, this is using, as you can see, the dress form small stamp, the butterflies, and the message. And as we get in, that's what's really nice to be able to see is all of the green. I mean, just where the color is obviously what was done with the Wink of Stella.
Right.
But you can really see the precision that it allows you.
So that's done just with those pins right on top of those images. I think maybe no, wait a minute. This is in the next
Garden.
set.
Yeah.
This is the next set, right? Yep. So set 2 contains landscape and Pretty Garden. And so these colors were used on this. I think I even see the landscape brown was done. From the browns from that set.
And even the edge of the tag has been just lightly stroked with the color. You can see the glitter, the shimmer that it's giving.
Right.
And the colors can be translucent with one layer. Right. And then they can get deeper if you add more color.
Another thing to mention is that they can be watered down. So you can add water to these if you want it to be a thinner look. You can just take your brush and just swipe it on maybe an acrylic block just a little bit, and then use a wet paintbrush to pick that up if you need a lighter look.
Oh, okay. Okay, the other thing on this card, just so that you know all the things, although you can look in the gallery, the design tool number 2 template is what was used to create this decorative edge right here. So that... So
you got that edge and the tags too.
Right, I was just going to say, as well as that, the vintage tag right there, and as well as the tags right there. On the inside, this also has some of the stamping and the Wink of Stella, as you can see beautifully.
Just adding a little bit.
Yeah, so just that ability to have the control so easily.
So even the little stars on the top of the words have been winked at.
Right. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Now this has just been computer journaled, so very, very sweet. Again, going into the precision, we're going to go into Janie's Girls, and we're going to focus on the hair, because that little bow and her hair has been
added to,
has been winked.
So first it was done with the Spectrum Noir pens, and then gone over with the clear, I believe, on the, no, that was done actually with the colored.
This is the Pretty Garden.
Right. The Pretty Garden and possibly the landscape was on there.
The word Dad was handwritten with the pens, and you can see that has a shimmer. And this little puppy, now there are dog and bird pieces of wood that have been laser cut. There
are poodles in there.
There are 61 in here, and very sweet to have one with a little girl.
Right. Now, when we say that was handwritten, that was done with one of the brushes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's good to point out that was, you have enough control to actually do some writing with it.
Right. So there's that little puppy down there. And the last one is yet another technique. Now, in this case, we have taken a stencil, and this is from Crafter's Workshop. This is called Wildflowers. It's a 6x6 stencil. And we've placed it on brown cardstock and did white embossing paste.
Right.
But then
you take your stencil again,
and you can leave it just in place and go back and do the Wink of Stella on top.
So there's, each one of these were done individually. That's laid right on there. And you go over and you can see it colors the embossing paste just perfectly. It completely covers up the white.
Now you could do that certainly with it without the stencil on top, but in this case you can kind of see the white a little bit on the edges, but that shine that you're seeing, especially in that, well, in fact all over, but in that purple area, is all the Wink of Stella.
That is a fun little process. It's just really cute. You can even add the centers just free form, just draw them on there, paint them on with the marker.
And on the inside, we have one little flower. We're going to need to stay in close
so we
can pick up that shine.
That was without the embossing paste. The stencil was just placed where she wanted it, and then she just painted through with one of the brush markers right through the stencil.
Another use of the stencil.
Yeah.
Good job. So what we found is Stella, you can do a lot of very fun, wonderful things with it.
They're very fun, and they're not cosmetic things. They put that right on the box because they sort of look like you could paint on your skin, but please don't do it. Don't do it. Don't let your kids do it. But definitely add a lot of sparkle and shine with the Stella brush markers.
Have fun. I know our design team is having a great time.
Yeah.